Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me for this live. I just wanted to pop on and have a good chat to you. I've been actually reading the chat, and it's really interesting because there's a lot of people that have experience with preeclampsia. And also, of course, postpartum preeclampsia is rarer, a lot rarer, and often very, very, very serious. So I've got to tell you, when I heard this claim by Meghan Markle, I was sitting down at my in my lounge room and I had a pen and paper and I was writing a snarky snippet script the old-fashioned way, and I had to pause it and I just sat there with my mouth open. I was gobsmacked because there was no preamble, no hint that anything like this was going to drop. And I really didn't know what to do with it because it's not something that you can go and joke about. I haven't had it myself, but I had a girlfriend that suffered from it dreadfully. She's all right now, but it was touch and go there for a while. So it actually made me feel a little bit ill. I didn't know what to deal with it. So I just made some notes, and these are the few things that I observed, that it was very unspecific. She didn't sort of let us know after which pregnancy this occurred. And the only hint was when she said, due to this medical condition, that she was found it hard to show up for the children. She used plural, I'm paraphrasing, but she used the word children, which indicates plural, which indicates Archie was already there. So I'm thinking supposedly after Lily. The other thing is, of course, Archie, we've got that very early release from hospital, as we know. We've got the presentation of Archie a few days after the birth. We've also got it turning up at a polo match only a few weeks after Archie's birth. So it just can't be after Archie's birth. If she's suffering from this, really debilitating medical condition that needs constant medical supervision and often hospitalization, more times than not, hospitalization, it just doesn't make sense that it's Archie. So let's assume that it's Lily. Then the other thing I thought of was at the time of the Oprah Winfrey interview, which is when, soon after that she gave, well, they got Lily, okay, after the Oprah Winfrey interview. I thought, well, she was really being very duchessy around that time. She was really throwing her weight around. And it was around that time that she got Piers Morgan the sack through her complaints about him not believing her story about a certain medical condition. So I'm thinking at the time, with all that sort of furor and backlash, that wouldn't she have got a source to leak a serious medical condition around that time to garner public sympathy? It just doesn't make sense. I mean, that would have been the perfect time for her to do it. Also, like I said, she's being very duchessy around that time, and she was really into the whole charity turning up patronage sort of thing at that time, very early on in the piece. You would think that maybe she would, try and represent a group that helped mothers that had suffered from this medical condition. You'd think that she would have actually offered herself as a patron because she'd experienced it herself. One thing I noticed too was that Whitney Wolfe Herd was serious about it. She was, I think, I picked up trauma from her. I felt like she had gone through some things. She emphasized that it was a life or death situation. She was, I believed her. I believed her 100% that she'd gone through something quite horrible and something quite scary. However, when she mentioned how extremely rare it was and how strange it was that Meghan should suffer from particularly postpartum preeclampsia, because like I said, that's even rarer, Meghan went, I know, it's so rare. It was like she was laughing about they both actually purchased the same coat or something. It was very, very strange. It just, the response was very, very strange. Now, we have to rely on her personal testimony for this because there's been no medical records released about anything to do with Meghan Markle. So we have no way of verifying this in any way. We can't prove it and we can't disprove it. Although I'm putting a hold on my cynicism and my skepticism just a little bit, and I don't blame people in the comments for being highly, healthily skeptical. That's not what I'm saying. But I am sitting on the fence for one reason. I don't trust the source. I don't trust the source of the claim. And what I'm worried about is it's almost like it was dangled for people to react. And whenever there's a dangle to react, a bit like the Gwyneth Paltrow thing, I didn't react to that. And I even said in my gossip before bed, I'm not saying I'm so great. I'm just saying I was cautious. I even said in my gossip, I'm not so sure. I hedged. And the reason why I hedged was I felt like it was dangled to produce a certain reaction. And then everyone was going to get the rug pulled out from under them and they were going to get wrong-footed at a later date. And I have that feeling a little bit about this, that it could be being dangled and that people are going to be, healthily skeptical, maybe even entirely negative, even totally disbelieving. And then she's going to come out with a bit of verifiable proof. That's my fear. That's my fear. That she wants to prove that everybody is so horrible, that is skeptical about anything she says, and to prove here I am telling the truth about a really, serious medical condition, and these trolls are harassing me and calling me a liar and blah, 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 blah. And then she comes out with a bit of proof. That's why I'm holding off. That's why I'm sitting on the fence, because I don't trust the source of the claim. And yeah, I just think it was also quite dismissive the way it was done on the podcast. I think there should have been a warning. I think, a heralding that they were going to talk about something extremely serious that wasn't to do with, being an entrepreneur. I think it was dismissive and arrogant. Not, like I said, not on Whitney Wolfe Heard's part. I think she tried to be very serious and respectful about the whole thing. I also looked up what the Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic said about it. It can develop within 48 hours to 6 weeks after delivery. It may lead to severe complications like seizures, stroke, organ damage if left untreated. And the kicker is often there's no symptoms. And it doesn't make any difference if you suffer from it during pregnancy with postpartum version of it. It can hit even if you didn't suffer from it during your pregnancy. So will we assume that it is Lily? Okay. And, I'm just checking that everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me? Because I blathered on for so long. It'd be awful if you can't hear me. I checked what Prince Harry said in Spare. And it was about Lily, about the Lily birth. And I thought, well, surely he would hint at some sort of medical condition or something like that. This is what he said in chapter 87. It was slightly easier this time, maybe because we were an ocean away from the old chaos and stress. Then he goes on to describe a birth. Then he says that they get home. And this is what I found interesting. Later, after we'd brought her home, after we'd settled into all the new rhythms of a family of 4, Meg and I were skin to skin, and she said, I've never been more in love with you than in this moment. Now, okay, that's quite there, but the thing is, we settled in to a new rhythm of a family of 4, no hint of any hiccups, no hint of any medical condition. No hint of any concern. That's weird. Because if this is supposed to be a memoir, wouldn't you share that difficulty? Wouldn't you share that you had something really hard that you all had to go through as a new family of 4? I leave that. Now, maybe other YouTubers have actually read that in Spare. Apologies if they have, because I have not watched any YouTubers for over 10 days. So if that's the case, it is pure coincidence because I just haven't had time to watch anyone else. But I did find that very, very interesting. I'm going to bring up some of your comments now. Yes, a lot of people are believing that if there are doubts about the birth, whether she actually carried Archie or Lily, that this might be a great thing, to sort of dispel those rumors. But I think that's why I don't trust it, because I don't think it's dispelled anything. I think it's created more. I think it's created more interest, more speculation, more discussion, which is probably the aim because she just loves any sort of attention. But I think also, you know what? Do you think she was maybe trying to distract from? No, it was pre-recorded way before they knew there was going to be a state visit, so it couldn't have been a distraction thing. Yeah, it's very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Okay, here's some of your comments. Stephanie Barrett, was it just a narcissist mirroring and one man upmanship? Well, yeah, well, you can tell I'm being careful. You got to be really, really careful legally when you're presenting a program. But that's an interesting thought, Stephanie. And it certainly follows a pattern, I would say. Yes, people do tend to mirror when they're that sort of personality. If they are, in fact, some sort of narcissistic personality, they do mirror and then they think about the consequences later. I think that's also with Meghan. I think she says a lot of things at the spur of the moment. And I think that she's learnt over time to be very unspecific because she doesn't like to be pinned down to detail. Because when you get pinned down to the detail, that's when it gets awkward. And that's when you've got to remember what you've said. You've almost got to, have notes, bring them up on your phone so you can tell. I'm just going to scroll back up because there was very interesting experiences from people that have actually experienced that medical condition, and I did want to hear from them. This is from Peony Pink. I also had preeclampsia and had an emergency C-section to save my life. Oh my goodness me. And my daughters. Meghan Markle is a disgrace to co-opt whatever she can to pursue her victim narrative, no respect for anything. Well, assuming that is what she has done, Peony Pink, I have to put in those disclaimers, but you're very entitled to your opinion. And I think you're also very entitled to your opinion because of what you went through. Oh my goodness me. I'm so glad you're okay. Wow, just horrific, isn't it? Just horrific. And isn't it great they picked it up? I mean, that's the thing. Some people are completely have no symptoms. I guess that's why they always test us, don't they, after we've had a baby? They always test for protein in your urine and things like that. And I never really understood what that was for, but now I do. Now I do. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. This is interesting too. From Celeste, preeclampsia, I had a couple of friends who almost died of it, and Meghan Markle giggles. That's because she never had it. Again, disclaimer, because I'm running the show, you're perfectly entitled to your opinion. We don't have any actual facts to prove or disprove it, so, we have to be careful about accusations. But Celeste, you are entitled to your opinion, and I value it. Yeah, very difficult situation. Hi, Koala Blues. Good evening, Shauna. Good evening, Koala Blues. So it's a really heavy topic, and I don't know whether a podcast about being an entrepreneur and stressing about your packaging and stressing about, whether you're going to have biodegradable peanuts or tissue paper is really the suitable forum either to bring it up. I think she's upset a lot of people, really, and unnecessarily. I think she's upset a lot of people unnecessarily. And so a lot of people did actually approach me nicely in the comments and just say, oh, why'd you leave that out of your snarky snippet? And that was because, honestly, I just didn't know what to do with it. So I just left it out. And I figured that MSM and other YouTubers would, of course, cover it. And my plan was always to cover it in this way, to talk to you in a more serious manner about it, just to be a little bit more respectful, because it's not funny. It's not funny, is it? It's not something to joke about. So anyway, that's my thoughts on it. And I'll be interested to see if, but look, unless she does an interview where she's actually held to account by somebody and asked hard questions, we're never going to know. We're never going to know because unless she releases her medical records, or unless there's a dangerous leak about her medical records, which of course no one will believe because it would be on the record if it was verifiable. So there is just no way this is going to be proven or disproven. It's going to be down to differing opinion. And yeah, it'd be like if, you see, that's why Catherine was so responsible. She made sure that all the facts about her condition came from her in a timely manner. She gave out information as when she was ready to give out information. But when she was going to give the serious information that she knew would genuinely upset people, because let's face it, I mean, there's so many people out in the world that have had cancer and had lost loved ones through cancer. So Catherine was very mindful of how she was going to present it because she knew that a lot of people would be triggered by it, traumatized by it. It would bring back very hard memories for a lot of people. Plus just the fact that everybody loves her so much that they would be totally devastated because they don't want anything to happen to her because she's such a, she's immaculate, she's beautiful, she's everything. And people don't want that to happen to her. So, I think she had more care for how people might feel, which doesn't surprise me at all. Now, I am going to get on to some lighter stuff, and it's about the trip to Italy because I can't believe all the great photographs, all the great stories, all the wonderful things that have come out. I am going to get on to Harry's court case near the end of this live too. I've got a bit to share about that as well, but a bit of lightness just in the middle of it. Okay, let's have a look at Camilla and King Charles off to the state dinner, and I've got to say, I was gobsmacked by Camilla's jewels because I thought, oh, it must be, the Queen, the late Queen's. She's taken some over to Italy, and it was her mum's. I was amazed. I had no idea that they had any family jewels. Sorry, Camilla. Queen Camilla 77 wore a green lace gown by Fiona Clare. I thought it was lovely, with a glittering turquoise diamond necklace that belonged to her own adored mother, Mrs. Rosalind Shand. And I thought that was lovely, absolutely lovely. I'll just go back. I'll see if I can make it bigger for you so you can actually see the jewels. But aren't they stunning? And does anyone here remember that she's ever worn that before? Because I don't remember that she has. I've never noticed that gorgeous necklace before. So how lovely. How lovely indeed. Can't believe it. So that was good. And also, next to that was this lovely statement that was put up on X, the Royal Family X feed. And I just loved what King Charles said. The fact that it was their 20th wedding anniversary, he said, on that score, I must say, it really is very good of you, Mr. President, to lay on this small romantic candlelit dinner for two. So I thought that was good. He's really showing his sense of humour for the Italy trip. I think he just obviously loves being there. So that's lovely. I had a little giggle at that. Also, they did get to meet Pope Francis. I said in my live last Tuesday that had been called off, but evidently he rang them up and said, look, I'm feeling a bit better. Would you like to pop over? So they had 20 minutes with him and he wished them a very happy 20-year wedding anniversary, which would have meant a lot to them, I would imagine, because don't forget, King Charles couldn't have his own mother at the actual church service because she was the head of the Church of England, although she was very supportive of them at the reception speech. She made a gorgeous speech, a horse referencey speech saying, they passed the winning post. And so she did support them and moved them in that way, but she couldn't actually attend the church service. So I think it's rather lovely that they get, well wishes from Pope Francis on their 20th wedding anniversary. So that's nice. Oh, it's all heartwarming stuff. The other funny thing was when the Italian Parliament thought that King Charles had actually finished his speech and they started clapping and they gave him a big standing ovation and the clapping went on and on and on and on. And when I watched the video, I thought he is actually trying to shush them up. He even went like that at one stage and he's going like that. And I thought, oh, isn't that lovely? He's so modest. He's just so modest. He doesn't want the standing ovation. He doesn't want all the clapping, but he was actually trying to shut them up because I've nearly finished the royal quipped after getting the giggles as he wrapped up the delivery, earning chuckles from those in the audience. So that was a bit of a hoot. And I love seeing him laugh and giggle and chuckle. I thought that was fun. But also, this is driving me mad. With the Italian Prime Minister, I want to know what he said. I want to know because he's the one telling the story and the Italian Prime Minister is the one that is absolutely killing herself laughing. So let me know, has anyone on MSM actually shared what he said to the Prime Minister visually? Has anyone said what the joke was? I'm going to scroll down, see if anybody knows. Oh, thank you, Koala Blues. That was very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. How do we know Nutmeg is lying? In Judge Judy's words, her lips are moving. Well, that's blunt and to the point. Can't believe anything about her due to all the proven lies. Well, that's the thing. The many inaccuracies in the Oprah Winfrey interview do lead people to question, like I said, I don't trust the source of the claim. So that's why I'm expecting a twist in the tale. I am. I could be wrong, but I just feel like people are getting set up at this point. I do. I'm very cautious now. Very, very, very cautious. Yes, great point, Drew B. It was disrespectful to her guest who actually did have it, almost minimizing it. Very much so, very much so. And I don't know, I just felt like Whitney Wolfhard, got to keep looking down to check her name because for some reason, I keep wanting to say Whitney Heard instead of Whitney Wolfhard. But I felt a little bit of awkwardness. You know, I could have been just reading that into it, but I did feel a little bit of awkwardness into that. I felt like Whitney Wolfhard was sort of saying almost, are you sure you really had it? Because it is like really rare and it does seem quite astounding. But I'm just reading between the lines there. Just reading between the lines. It's just personal opinion, not fact. So let's see. Ooh. Koala Blues just said get the popcorn ready. her comeuppance is coming. I wonder. We can only live in hope. Gee, it's been a long time. Let's face it, we've all been promised some sort of justice and comeuppance for years. Over 5 years. That's why I'm doing the unanswered question podcast. I'm not trying to answer the questions because they're questions that actually can't be answered. They can't be proven, but the important thing is they can't be disproven. Also, there hasn't been any legal challenges to disprove. So, I think it's important to just put it out there for prosperity, have the question in the title, and just have it there. Just have it sitting there for prosperity, because I don't know if we ever are going to see any justice or comeuppance. And, as this story fades and everyone drifts away, which I'm sure they will very soon because it's on the nose already, it's good to just have it up there, I think, forever. For prosperity. All right, so I'm going to actually go on to another story, which is Prince William sharing some father-son time with George, and it was lovely, and the videos are just spectacular when Aston Villa actually managed to score because, of course, they lost, but, when there was a slight change in the fortunes of the game, William just lit up. and kissed George and everything. It was just a lovely moment. So, yes, as I said, it was the Aston Villa's Champions League quarter-final against PSG. He wanted to create some memories. I love this shot. I love this shot. This was just after Aston Villa actually did score. And I just love that. Look at he's just so happy. And I love the Daggy Dad thumbs up too. I think that's just brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So that was lovely. But ultimately, a disappointing night for Aston Villa, who were beaten 3-1 in the French capital. So that's a bit sad, but it would have been a great night, I would imagine. Okay, now I have some facts about Haz and his court case that is now completed. We are waiting for the judge's verdict. So his barrister, Shahid Fatima Casey, argued that Harry was singled out and subjected to an unfair bespoke process. I've got to say, I was astounded that they dragged out the old chestnut that they were forced to leave the UK because they weren't being suitably supported by the palace. I was amazed they even bothered to drag that out. I don't see how it has any bearing on security concerns or the sort of security that they get. It just seems like a personal grievance. So I don't know why that was even a thing. But I was interested to see the two threats that his barrister actually cited. One was an Al-Qaeda call for his assassination in 2020, which of course is serious, and, I can't mock that. I mean, anyone would take that seriously. However, they did bring up the paparazzi chase in New York in 2023. And I actually went back and looked at my reaction to that at the time. It's quite funny. I should actually link it down below. That, the snail chase through New York. And then when we sort of called it out as the fact that there's no way it could be a high speed and dangerous chase through the streets of New York. I mean, it's literally just like hardly moving. It's just ridiculous. It'd be, honestly, someone on one of those scooter things, when people go on the scooter things when they lose their license, people movers or whatever they're called. What are they called? I can't remember. Well, that fast. That's how fast it would be. But the Home Office actually hit back. So James Eadie Casey countered that the decision was rational and free of procedural unfairness, and it was tailored to Harry's unique circumstances. So the other thing that interested me, the final thing that interested me about all this, was the private session. There was a private session on April 9th due to sensitive security details. So that's interesting. That's very interesting. So obviously they would have had to have shared maybe what the royal family receive in the form of their security and how it sort of unfolds and how it goes about. So it had to be a closed session in order to ensure, I assume, their safety. But I was amused about the high-speed paparazzi New York chase, because that just goes down in history as such a... Oh, I've got to be careful. I'm going to be really careful here, but I think we all know. I found it quite amusing. Let's just put it that way. Okay. This is from Julie Norton. Hi, Julie. Hi, Shauna. Who knew Megsy was BFF with a billionaire who had a very rare condition too? I'm calling BS. Yes, that seems an intelligent response and a worthy response that you're very entitled to. Oh my goodness me. Oh dear. Yes, there isn't a lot of support. I'm picking up. So, in the court of public opinion around the water cooler, Meghan is not convincing anyone. This is Ivy of Housebark. Well, we all know he's aiming for IPP. He gets security but not armed. And if he doesn't leak that he's going anywhere, he will be safe. So over it. Well, of course, also UK taxpayers are footing the bill for all this. And just crazy. And honestly, even if they do grant it to him, which I don't think they will, but say totally unexpected they grant it to him. Do you really think that Meghan's going to come over after, it's not going to make any difference to her. Although, one thing I think could be a little sad, although I'm not using it to emotionally manipulate the king or anything like that. But one thing that I think could be sad for the kids is the fact that, that it would be great if they got to know their cousins. So if they could come over just with Harry, even if Harry dropped them off. I don't think anyone wants Harry there. But I mean, we can't sort of punish children for the sins of their fathers or mothers. So, if they were to come over and just spend, a bit of time at Windsor or Highgrove or Sandringham for Christmas or something when they're old enough to be away from their parents, they might have a really great time. They might have a great Christmas with all their cousins running around. Can you imagine how much noise and fun and mayhem? And they might be quite amazed that actually they are, in line for the throne in the United Kingdom. I mean, it might interest them. Maybe they could go to the Tower of London and have a look at all the jewels and things like that. So, yes. Do you think it's sad that they don't get to meet their cousins? Do you find that sad? Do you think it would be good if they could come over without Harry? He could just drop them off. Yeah, do a McDonald drop off like divorced dads. Really? Oh my goodness me. I don't know about that one, Michelle. I think some may agree with you. I actually do think I definitely think there are children. I question the birth stories and I question how they came into this world. But I do think there are children. I think there are. Because looking at it just practically, they would have to get someone like Whitney Wolfe Herd to actually be in on the deception. Do you see what I mean? Because she talked about Lily and Archie. And when you would have to have so many people in on it, I think that's where it falls down. So I do believe that there are children. And I think it would be nice if they got to meet their cousins. But you let me know your opinion. Let me know. JB33, hi Shauna, love your voice. I've got a new microphone. It's a microphone, and it's this. My husband got it for me for my birthday, and he's a muso mastering sound guy, and so he said if you get this microphone with the bigger diaphragm, you'll sound really warm and nice. So I took his advice, and I said, oh, okay, get it, because he ran it by me first. And he gave it to me for my birthday. So he's a lovely fella. He doesn't edit any of my videos, though, or do anything that's really helpful in that way. And he really knows what he's doing. He masters, albums for people and stuff. And he doesn't help me. In that way. Anyway. This is from Vicky. Maybe she is describing the birth of the children, but from a surrogate's experience. Hence, she can describe it without emotion because it was seen but not physically experienced. You know what, Vicky? Exactly the same thing crossed my mind because when I'm reading Harry Spare, to me, it is very carefully couched. I wonder if I'll be able to find it again. Just a bit about Lily. Because it was very carefully couched, I think, about being skin to skin. So I slid my hands under the tiny back and neck, gently but firmly, as I'd seen in films. I pulled our precious daughter from that world into this. So that's unspecific. Cradled her just a moment, trying to smile at her to see her, but honestly couldn't see anything. And he wanted to say stuff, blah, blah, I won't bore you silly. I'll keep you safe, he said. Then I surrendered her to Meg, skin to skin, the nurse said. Now, of course they do that with birth mothers, but they also do that with people that have had a baby via surrogate. Usually they hand it to the not the birth mother, but the mother that's going to be, skin to skin. That happens. So it's very unspecific. It could be that he wouldn't be accused of lying at a later date. Let's put it that way. And if that's not the motivation, then I think they're really trying to get people going. I think they're being unspecific for a purpose. That's why I don't trust them. And actually, Lady C said that in her book, that even if it turns out that they are the birth parents of these children, the fact that they've been playing this game with the public consciousness, they've been sort of playing up the doubts and playing up the rumors and playing up the skepticism. I feel like they're doing it to harm the royal family. So either way, it's bad. Either way, it's bad. Yeah. Okay, so I've done Harry's court case. Did I conclude that? Yes, I did. I just wanted to also share this about the trauma of in the court case. Now, it sounds like a squatty. Now, I know that's rather, racially profiling, but a lot of squatties are actually black women. So I was interested to hear that the ruckus caused in court was by a bespectacled supporter, a diminutive, shaven-head black woman who looked in her 50s, had attracted attention after arriving late to the public gallery and repeatedly shifting in her seat and fiddling and fidgeting with 2 phones and a notebook. So she came very well prepared. And so as Harry was being escorted out by his bodyguards out of the court, as the Duke hurried out, the woman turned to the press gallery and said, "If you're members of the press, you're the reason he's not in England." And prior to that, she shouted, "I support you, Harry." So there you go. Now, what do you think about that? Do you think that that was a bit of a performance? Do you think that that was a bit of drama in aid of maybe the judges? Would the judges have seen that, or would the judges have retired from the bench, whereupon others could leave the court? Don't the judges leave first? I think they do. So maybe it was just I don't know. There's so many things to speculate about, isn't it? Oh, really? Oh, here's an update. She is a recognised Sussex squid. Sussex squid. Is she? I didn't get that update. I didn't get that. So that's very interesting. Anita Clark thinks it was a bit of a setup. Okay, all right. Denise, absolutely agree, Shauna. That couple purposely remain vague in so many ways to create the talk and then sit back and laugh at it all. It's also a good excuse to prove how much they're bullied. Yes, Denise, yes. And that is why I'm so wary. I'm really, really wary. When I hear some commentators come out, which good on them. I mean, it's brave. It's very, very brave. I respect them for it. But I almost feel like ringing them up and saying, "Hey, buddy, be careful." Because I just feel like there's all this sort of setting up now. I could be proven wrong. This is from Sharon. Hi, Sharon. I think the person yelling out in court was paid and planted. Interesting, too, that she disappeared very quickly. Often when someone's got a lot to say like that, when they're yelling out in court and they've got something to say, usually they're quite happy to talk to the press outside. She wasn't happy to talk to the press outside the court. She didn't want to know. She basically scurried off. So it was like she didn't want too much investigation into who she was, where she came from, what her motivation was, what exactly was she saying. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now I'm going to finish up on a light note. And this is an interesting thing that I saw in Hello about royal pets. And one thing that really moved me that I didn't know, I'm going to try and bring it up full screen, was this is the Queen, of course, you know, with her Jack Russell, Beth. But I didn't know that Beth was immortalised in gold embroidery on Camilla's white Bruce Oldfield coronation gown. I didn't know that. And I found that so moving. I really did find that moving. The other thing was King Charles with his hens, off to feed his hens. And the first thing I thought about when I saw this was the Oprah Winfrey interview and going down to the Chook Run with Oprah. And I just thought, she doesn't do anything original, does she? Nothing's original. Okay, and the final one I want to share is this one of the late Queen Elizabeth. Now, she just arrived at the airport at Balmoral and she was going to go off on a holiday. And this shot, I mean, look at this shot. Obviously, it'd been raining, so it's got that lovely shimmer on the concrete. And I just think she looks like she's just come off, a Paris catwalk. She just looks amazing. And for me, I would actually love to have that, not just because it's of the late Queen, but just as an artistic shot, like on my wall. Don't worry, I won't do it because I'm not a super fan or anything like that. But it's just such a beautiful shot. It's very artistic, isn't it? I mean, you could just see that as something you could have on your wall. It's just lovely and lovely colors and all that. So I'm going to let you all go, and I'm just going to bring up a few more final comments. And I'll just go scroll back up because some people miss out, don't they? Um, I don't also want to repeat what I've done. Okay, this is a very interesting comment. No, that's interesting too, sorry. But it was the one before that. No, that's it. I'm waiting. Sorry, it's hard to see because they go past so quickly. I'm waiting for a reporter with some gumption to put a mic in Oprah's face and ask her how she felt when she realized what Meghan said was all lies. That's the thing, because there has been, as we know, a lot of it has been disproven, and yet there's no accountability. No accountability at all. And look, at the very least, I'd say at least 3 or 4 absolutely 100% without doubt objective fact has disproven what was said. So you would think that, she should have to be accountable for something that she presented, wouldn't you? But people never are they? They never are. They never are. This is interesting. Final comment for tonight. Anita Clark. Meghan doesn't want to visit the UK anyway, and she wouldn't allow him to bring the kids on his own anyway. So he's just trying to prove a petulant point. I think I agree with you there. I doubt she would actually let him bring the children over unless she needed that sort of boost to her brand, or boost in some way to have some sort of connection again to the royal family, and she might try to do it through the children. Possibly, she may do that because she's very transactional, extremely transactional. I think we have learnt that much over the last 5 years. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. I'm going to end now. I've got the book tomorrow night, and Saturday night I have got a humdinger for you of an unanswered question. So I would tune into that because it is quite provocative. Okay, I'll see you again very soon. Bye. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining.